Interesting. Thank you. And Abdullah, I mean, you mentioned in one of your slides that having that linkage potentially between regulatory and HTA decision making. I mean, that's a very hot topic here in Europe. I know there's some for it, some against it, but also the consistency of HTA value frameworks across countries. I mean, again, that's challenging to do just across Europe. I mean, how would you see that evolving from an international perspective, and how would the WHO like to sort of see that evolve?
I will give you my experience from WHO, and I will give you my experience working with regulators in many countries. Regulators sometimes has its own way of processing and approval based on safety, number one, and availability, number two. For HTA, it's multi-decision. So if we can take this into a middle zone between regulatory perspective and HTA perspective.
Abdullah, we're losing you a little.
In a middle sizing. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, but you're breaking up a little bit. So.
Yeah. Maybe, I'm sorry. Now you can hear me now, good?
Sounds better now, yes.
Okay. I will repeat my answer again from my experience with regulators and experience from HTA bodies. If regulators and HTA bodies made some a middle zone between different perspectives and agreed about agreed perspective from others, it will help definitely magnificent support for medical devices. Especially we had this experience with biosimilars and the negotiation and the arguing between HTA bodies and regulators, and they approved and make an agreement about the framework. So they should work together in acceptable framework from both sides for the medical devices. And one of the bullets for this is risk and benefits framework. Sometimes we need the medical devices in a short time. In a regulator, they made sometimes of conditional approvals, but in HTA bodies, they need more times. So I agree with Federico point that mix is important, but also the framework and putting risk and benefits framework in a practical way is more important for the patient and also for the health system and the capacity. And finally, from my perspective about how can HTA bodies framework especially could be enhanced, the HTA bodies should taking into consideration they have different processes and they should have their own view how other stakeholders think and putting their framework based on how they are think, not only how HTA think. They should going to the other perspective. They should making their processes is applicable for the real practice. Sometimes we done our practice, we done our guidelines, but these guidelines sometimes there is a gap between implementation with these guidelines, maybe because there is not a satisfaction of needs for the system for these guidelines.
Interesting, thank you. And my final question, as we have maybe 1.5